Greetings and welcome to week 3 unit 4 on ePortfolios, reflection journals and learning journals. In the previous unit we understood the features of instructional components, concept maps and mind maps. So this week in this unit we will look at some more instructional components, ePortfolios, learning journals and reflection journals. Portfolio is not any new concept. It has been practiced in for several decades, especially in courses like architecture, anything connected with painting or many other design, they have been used. So a portfolio is a curated compilation of academic and project based artifacts. Okay, you compile things based on your activity, such as designs, quotes, lab results, simulations, reports and reflections linked to learning outcomes. For example, you can have a course has several course outcomes. You may create with respect to one course outcome, you may have a, let us say, project based or problem based learning, and in that case whatever work as an individual or as a group that you are doing, all the elements what we call as artifacts of that are put together into one document. It is used for both formative and summative assessment, career development or continuous improvement. For example, a subset of this portfolio can be presented in an interview, for example, indicating what is it that you have done. A curated one maybe, or when you are creating your portfolio, the teacher can take a look at what you have been doing while still you are working in that area, and have formative assessment, which means that he can give you feedback on some of the things that have been done or what more to do. And it can also be used for summative assessment, finally for awarding marks as well. While the hard copies of artifacts are still put together as a portfolio in some cases, it depends on the institutes, their practices, the use of electronic version of portfolio is becoming common. Today if you want to start a portfolio, you do not want to go for hard copies. You want to go for a ePortfolio, which is much easier, and you have plenty of tools available to create electronic version of anything that you want to do. So we will be mainly concentrating on ePortfolio. Any portfolio or electronic portfolio is a curated digital collection of evidence that showcases a learner's achievements, skills, reflections and growth over time. You can create a ePortfolio for your entire program, or for one course, or for a project. You can do for anything. It is both a learning tool and presentation tool used in outcome based engineering programs. It can be, it is not simply like a record of what you have done. While you are doing, you are learning. So to that extent, working on an ePortfolio can constitute a part of your learning process. So you are learning through creating a ePortfolio. Okay, maybe we will talk about this more in another unit on writing as an instructional method. Okay. Now the purpose of ePortfolio, showcase his or her learning or skill development, which can be shown to, let us say, a potential employer. Provide evidence that learning has occurred. Assess project based or competency based outcomes. It can be used as an assessment tool as well. Used for summative assessment, and evidence that learning outcomes have been met. By looking at your ePortfolio, an instructor can determine whether the learning has effectively occurred or not. Core elements of a ePortfolio: a personal and academic profile. That is, when you are creating ePortfolio, there is some kind of format. You keep putting elements together like this. These are the core elements. The personal and academic profile would mean name, contact information, educational background, a resume or CV or bio, or learning philosophy or personal statement if you have any, because every student is not aiming for the same thing. So you can make a personal statement as well. And personal learning or career goals, because even if you are in first year, at that time you have your own career goals. Can you record them? You may change later, that is different, but your decisions, your way of working will depend on your career goals at that point of time. Then artifacts, as we call it, where evidence of learning is provided. There can be variety of artifacts: engineering design reports, project documentation, CAD drawings, simulations, lab reports, presentations or videos, code repositories, example GitHub links, photos of physical prototypes, anything. All of them will not be there for everything, but any of these things constitute artifacts, and you make these artifacts. Each artifact you may follow one format of presentation. Like you are somewhere in the lab or otherwise you are asked to make a presentation. So your presentation may be in the form of a PPT, set of slides, and you may follow certain format for those slides. So what happens is that will be your artifact. Okay. Then you have reflections. This is very important, critical for demonstrating metacognition and affective development. If you are able to reflect on what you have done or what has happened, what were your assumptions, and where you think that you have not understood properly or you thought differently, if you are able to record, it will be a great service to yourself, and that is what will demonstrate your metacognition, or it also will help in your affective development. What was learned, challenges faced, how problems were solved, how it contributed to skill development, insights about teamwork or ethics, etc. All of them can be, you can reflect on that and record. Feedback and revisions. Feedback can come from your peers, from your instructor or industry mentors if there are any. Evidence of revision or iteration based on feedback. You can record your whatever you have attempted, and then you can record the feedback given by the faculty or the industry mentors, and then in what way you have reacted to those and what revisions have you made. All of them can be recorded. It is not that you record only your final decision. The sequence of things that you have gone through will also work as a wonderful record of how you have learned. Core elements of further of ePortfolio: media and design elements, visual layout, themes, templates, embedded videos, animations, iterative diagrams, navigation features, menus, tags and search mechanisms, that is navigation features, privacy and sharing controls, that is access levels, either private, peer, faculty or public. That is whenever you create an artifact, you can also you can have controls over sharing and privacy. Is it only meant for your view, or is it also for your peers, or for the faculty, or for the public? Okay. Version control, draft versus final, and digital signatures or submission logs for assessments. Analytics and dashboard. In integrated systems, we will presently talk about integrated systems. Time spent on entries, competency tracking, visualizations, completion indicators. These are also core elements of a ePortfolio. Some optional enhancements: digital badges or micro credentials, certificates, blog or journal entries, collaboration sections for team projects. So, these are all core elements, but these are possible elements. One may or may not be able to use every one of them, but as many as possible if you can use, it will be beneficial. Now, each artifact, if you take repeat, that is each entry, you have to have this structure. Artifact title, like for example, simulation of DC-DC buck converter. Okay, that is one artifact that I am including in my ePortfolio. What is the type? Simulation, lab report, CAD drawing, presentation video, all of them. Am I using all of them? Whatever that I am including, that is the type of entry. Context, is it part of a course or a project? And objective or problem statement can also be included in that. That is the context. Description, summary of the artifacts, tools used, scope and methods. What was your scope, and what are the tools that you have used, and obviously everything will not have the same amount of scope. Scope may be just to understand the working of a DC-DC buck converter. So, if I am able to simulate and see some input-output relationships, that is adequate. But if my goal is to design that, it is a different thing. What kind of components that I am using and so on, the scope is different. Skills demonstrated, you are using MATLAB, PSpice or PCB design, measurement, instrumentation, team collaboration, documentation, data interpretation. If you have done all of them, you can record, yes, I have used MATLAB for this or PSpice for this, and I have learned how to collaborate if two or three people are working together. And then if I have interpreted the data, conclusions that you have drawn, they can be written down. Outcome alignment, this is in today's context, engineering programs in India have 11 program outcomes. You can say outcome alignment means this activity aligns with the PO3 program outcome or program specific outcome, which is simulation and modeling. Okay. Then reflection, what did I learn technically and personally? How would I improve this in future? If you are able to do it truthfully to yourself. This can be private, it may or may not be shared, but if you are able to do that, you would grow personally very, and this becomes very important. The most attractive feature of an ePortfolio is the high student involvement in putting together the contents of a portfolio, often through discussion or negotiation with the academic tutor. That is the most important feature is it is a student who is doing, rather than either it is not the notes that you are copying down from the or the notes given by the teacher or from the textbook. You are doing. If the student is doing, then obviously his participation, his engaging with that knowledge becomes important. The ePortfolio provides a more rounded and reliable assessment of learning achieved than just a written examination or essay assignment alone. If of course, if the systems are in place, somebody cannot arbitrarily do it. If for assessment, this becomes a much better tool than merely having a 3-hour exam where there can be one question on DC-DC buck converter. Okay. Because of the ownership of the ePortfolio by the student, then ePortfolio is individual and unique, because each student is doing by himself or herself, it becomes unique. It is not like I memorize a standard answer and reproduce. Okay. And the tools for creating ePortfolios, open source and self-hosting, if you look at Mahara, Karuta, WordPress plus plugins, Moodle plus plugins, and Ilias LMS, we are likely to talk about Moodle plus plugins as the possible tool. Then a next level, once we are convinced of using ePortfolios, one can go for integrated multifaceted ePortfolio strategy. This has to be done at the institute level. You cannot do it for one course or necessarily for only one department. The institute has to do it, assuming that institute has taken such a position. It is a comprehensive approach to designing and using electronic portfolios that serve multiple educational and development purposes. The strategy views ePortfolio not merely as a collection of work, but as a central hub for learning, reflection, assessment, career development and identity formation, all integrated within the broader curricular and co-curricular experiences. So it can be, that is why it is called integrated, and it can make a tremendous difference to the students if it is done at the institute level. If we want ePortfolios to support integrative learning, the institute must pay attention to the elements that support connection and synthesis. Thus, goal requires careful thinking about pedagogy and structure as well as software. Here, a few institutions across the world have done it, and it takes considerable effort on the part of all people concerned, including the management, infrastructure, faculty, students, everyone will have to participate. And as we will see, it also takes time. It does, if you start today, you do not achieve this integrated ePortfolio mechanism in 1 year. So you have to have a path. How do I slowly grow into this? Visual creativity is key, as are interdisciplinary linkages. These days interdisciplinary courses are becoming common. So, obviously how do I create linkages from one program to another program or one course to the other becomes an issue. ePortfolio implemented with institutional and pedagogical strategies that value integrative learning help high risk students engage more deeply in the learning process, leading to measurable improvement in student learning. If you have integrated strategy, you are making sure that all students participate in that. So, high risk students are students who are not adequately motivated, have slightly less cognitive abilities. They can all be part of, all of them can improve. That is the outcome of following an integrated strategy. Implementing ePortfolios takes work on the part of faculty, students. They need sustained assistance with this process. It is not like issuing one notice. You require sustained support over a long period of time. Need to be patient. This is a long term process. Maybe it will take about 3 to 4 years for it to completely fructify. Gather multiple sources of data appropriate to your goal. The institute can take advantage of this to ensure that their students get placed properly. You can convince the potential employers that the kind of learning that has taken place, and also they can by kind of qualifying each student for a different type of activity, they can, some people have tried in India also, but at a much lower level, but by not saying all students should apply for a particular job, through proper selection based on their abilities, the placements can be substantially enhanced. So, if you want to get to know more about this, what some of the agencies have done, there is Carnegie Foundation, which is one of the very fairly old organization in USA, which has been focusing all its efforts on higher education. They have what you call integrative learning. One can look at the documentation available there. And then American Association of Higher Education Electronic Portfolio Clearinghouse identified 6 primary functions for ePortfolio. So, educational planning, documenting knowledge, skills and policy abilities, tracking development, finding a job, evaluation within a course, and performance monitoring in the workplace. So, they have given their classification of ePortfolios, so they can be used. So, it is accepted by the professional agencies as well. Now, we go to another instructional component called reflective journal, which can be considered as a small part of ePortfolio. It is not as elaborate as that. So, a reflective journal is a personal record where students analyze their experiences, thoughts and emotions, often to gain insight or deeper understanding. So, please note that you are trying to record your experience, thoughts and emotions. That is the reflective journal. It can be considered as a truncated version of ePortfolio. Okay. Some of the features include emphasizes reflection on experience, not just recording events. may follow models like Gibb's reflective cycle or Kolb's experiential learning. We have looked at Kolb's experiential learning elsewhere, but we will present Gibb's reflective cycle. You can follow one of them because both are well accepted and established, and it is usually private. It is only meant for your own use, or it can be shared with the instructor so that you can get some feedback from him. What is Gibb's reflective cycle? It is a popular framework for guiding deep and systematic reflection on experiences, particularly in professional and educational settings. It is widely used to promote learning through reflection, helping learners to critically analyze what they do and why. The 6 stages of Gibb's reflection cycle: description, feelings, evaluation, analysis, conclusion and action. So, these are the 6 stages. We will not go through each one of them right now in detail. The purpose of reflective journal is to promote self-awareness and critical thinking, to reflect on emotional and cognitive reactions to experiences. Often used in experiential learning, labs or internships. This is where the reflective journal is used. One engineering example, if you want to see, during an internship, a student writes weekly entries analyzing decisions made in the workplace, ethical dilemmas faced, or how theoretical knowledge was applied in practice. Okay. So, if you are able to record all that, that enhances your first critical thinking. A student in a signals course keeps a journal logging each lecture topic, key formulas, misunderstandings and problem solving strategies. So, it can be used as a part of a course or part of like experience like internship. There is another which can be considered again as a subset of ePortfolio, a learning journal. A learning journal is a structured or semi-structured log maintained by students to record experiences, observations, thoughts, challenges, questions and insights during a course, project, internship or a learning strategy. Now, the focus here is not just your feelings and emotions, but also on the content. What is it that you are learning? Learning journal is a chronological log that helps students track their learning process, often capturing what they have learned and how they have learned it and what remains to be learned. So, as you can see, the focus is on learning. If you want to record your feelings, that is different, but the main focus is what is it that you have learned and how you have learned, and what is more to be learned with respect to that particular trying to attain that outcome. Learning journals are personal, reflective tools used by learners to document a process and deepen their understanding of what they are studying. They are widely used across disciplines to encourage critical thinking, metacognition and continuous improvement. In all these 3 instructional components, you are writing, documenting, and that is one of the best ways to really learn. If you haven't documented, if you have not written properly, more or less you can say that you have not learnt adequately. You are only somehow for a brief time you are keeping it in the memory and just reproducing that. Learning makes it, you internalize what you have learned through writing. Okay, some of the features, it includes summaries, personal understanding, questions and action plans, focuses more on content learning than emotional reflection, can be guided with prompts or open-ended. Okay. So, key purpose of learning journals: reflection on learning, monitoring progress, enhancing metacognition, integrating theory and practice, encouraging expression and personal engagement. Again, typical components of a learning journal: you have data entry, title, to organize and contextualize the entries. That is, you have to put what exactly in what context you are trying to prepare this. Learning summary: what content or skill was covered, personal understanding, how the student interprets or applies the content, challenges or questions, what was confusing or what are needs further work, application examples, real world or discipline specific connections, reflections and feelings, emotional or motivational reactions, next steps, plans for further study or improvement. Sometimes you may or may not have all the elements filled, but if you can have all these elements addressed, it would be a good learning journal. Where do we use in engineering education? Lab journal reflection, describing what went wrong or right in a circuit design experiment, project logs, weekly entries tracking design decisions and team collaboration capstone in say your final year project, internship journals, recording industry observations, ethical dilemmas and technical growth, course learning journals. If you use in courses, reflecting on understanding of topics like control systems, DSP or embedded programming. You can use this to deepen your learning. Simple prompt questions for a learning journal: what engineering concept did I find most challenging today? How did I apply theory to a real or simulated problem? When did what did I learn from working with others? What feedback did I receive and how did I respond? And how does this concept relate to sustainability or ethics? These are prompting questions. That is, if you want to fill your learning journal, you try to respond to at least some of these questions, and that becomes your part of your learning journal. And digital tools that are available for learning journals: Google Docs and Microsoft OneNote, Notion and Obsidian, LMS integrated tools like Moodle Journal. So, Moodle will provide you all of this. Mahara, Canvas, ePortfolios or PebblePad. These are the tools that are available for creating learning journals. In the next unit, we will attempt to understand the features of instructional components, peer teaching, peer review, critical incident analysis and small group analysis. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention.